Okay, welcome everyone to Google Expeditions Lives. My name is Tom Mullaney. I was a part of the Colorado 16 cohort, and I was a coach in last year's VIA 20. I'm originally from New York, but most of my teaching career was in Pennsylvania. And now I live in Hillsborough, North Carolina, a wonderful small town just west of Durham, North Carolina. I like to say, watch out, Muncie, Indiana, because Hillsborough is on the grow. We're doing great. So in my time in education, I worked in special education, then middle and high school social studies, and then as an ed tech coach. And when I was an ed tech coach, I used Google Expeditions, the old Google Expeditions app, quite a bit. So I feel very strongly about this topic. And by the way, everyone will get the slides at the end of the presentation. So let's do a little history lesson. Because I was a history teacher, I love doing this. Let's talk about Google Expeditions. And the first thing I'll share is that Google Expeditions really was a killer iPad app. It was amazing on iPads. It was never marketed that way, but I happened to be at a school that did not have a kit. We had iPads. iPads meant that we just use our building Wi-Fi. We didn't bother with any special router. You could charge your iPads when they were on either leading an expedition or following an expedition. And it was basically a window into a scene. You know, you looked up, you saw the sky, you looked down, you saw the ground. And the students, they didn't know that there was an immersive VR viewer version of this, and they loved it. Oh, it was fantastic. And then I wound up at a high school as an ed tech coach where we did have the Expeditions kit. And I was all excited to use it. And my fellow coaches in the district had offered trainings to the teachers on using the kits and then reported that the kits weren't used very often. And my thought on that was, well, of course, the Expeditions kits are a little bit complicated. As the ed tech coach, I'm going to go in there, push in, bring out small groups into the hallway, and we'll do it that way. Now, by the way, the fact that even back then I thought to myself, of course, teachers wouldn't use this. That tells us a little something, doesn't it? And so when, as the instructional coach, I would come in and use the Google Expeditions kits, this was my process. You were looking probably at the single worst slide of all of Spark Camp Saturday. Look at all that text and look at all the steps it would take for one person to lead Google Expeditions in a class. One of my favorite things here is that step nine is leading the actual expedition. What I'm going to tell you is that when Google says, we discontinued this app because usage wasn't high, I am going to say, from having used this Expeditions kit, yes, I 100% believe you. Think about all teachers have to do. And now you're asking them to do all this stuff with routers and plugging in and charging and connecting devices. When I use these with iPads, it could not have been easier, but the kits were just way too much. And it also brought about issues of accessibility for our kids, right? So a mobile app is needed, a mobile device is needed. There's no text on the screen for our kids. They have to listen as they process. That's it. Either they get it or they don't. There's no way to revisit it. So if I was a teacher and I led my kids on an expedition, I couldn't post it in Google Classroom for them to go back to. And it was much better in small groups than whole class. Even with the iPads, I always did it in small groups, much, much better. Whole groups, you're probably going to have management issues and some tech issues, right? And so Google announced about a year ago that the app was going away. And it actually happened at the end of June 2021. And now Expeditions live in Google Arts and Culture. And they are web-based. They live on the web. They are simply web pages, but they also live in the Expeditions app as well. So you can access them from the app as well. Now, there are two different paths to get to these expeditions in arts and culture. As you can tell, I like the fact that expeditions are now web-based. I do have some concerns about the website itself. We'll get there. So let me show you how. I'm going to give you two paths. This is going to be called Path A. So in Path A, we are going to go to this 3-line menu. I call it the Veggie Burger menu. I'm pretty sure Google is about to announce that this is officially going to be christened the Veggie Burger menu. You heard it here first. But you go there and then you click Themes. The word themes to me is not catchy. As a teacher, as a viewer, I don't understand what themes means. Themes is a kind of a meaningless word when we talk about web navigation. But we click Themes. And then we go down to Arts and Culture Expeditions. So let's find that. And it's right here. And even then, we still have to click on this View All Tours button. And that will literally bring us to all the expeditions. There are 422 of them. They're all VR. There were about 900 or so VR before in the old app. And remember the big spreadsheet. So not all of them made it, but it is what it is. Let me show you Path B. Path B, again, we click on Veggie Burger and Themes. And here we go down to Learn with Arts and Culture. And that's in here somewhere. I may have to do a Control F on this one. Nope, there it is. I scrolled down enough. Learn with Google Arts and Culture. And then we scroll to Undertake a Virtual Field Trip. There's this one here that says take all the field trips. Okay, so that was two different ways to get there. Not super intuitive. In my slide deck, I've given you all the direct links that you could ever want, but they're there. Now, Google recently released this. It is available on the web. A 52-page guide to using Google Arts and Culture. 52 pages. Now, I want to show you some other websites. 2 are Google, 1 is not, that teachers might use, especially me being a former history teacher. So this is one of them was a site I used regularly. So this is Applied Digital Skills. Have you all used Applied Digital Skills? You see how easy it is, how laid out, it's just right there. You got a very easy search. I can filter by things, right? And then we're going to do CS first. And again, CS first, pretty self-explanatory. It's all there. And I get both of these websites are not as dense in material as Arts and Culture. I want to show you another website that teachers would use for content and for lessons. And that site is this, Stanford History Education Group. Read Like a Historian. This is just the US history page. And again, I have abilities to filter, and I have, it's all right there for me. What I would ask you to do is a little thought exercise. Imagine if I asked you to write a 52-page guide to using Read Like a Historian, CS First, or Applied Digital Skills. I think you would probably consider that an impossible assignment. How would you get to 52 pages, right? So I will say that as much as I love Google Expeditions on the web, Arts and Culture probably needs an infrastructure, kind of an information architect revamp to make it more teacher friendly. Having said that, if you know the path, if you know the direct route, then the expeditions are pretty nice. All right. So let me show you what we have there. And let me show you what we have here. So I've reached it in both places. We have a search field right here. I will show you one expedition. This is California State Parks. And so I want you to notice what's going on here, because this is the exact same thing a student would look at. So first of all, you can add it to your favorites. That's a nice thing to do. I would say use this heart button a lot if you're a teacher. Make sure you save everything. There's a link button. There's, Facebook and Twitter, but then the share button, and look what we get. Google Classroom. So that is really nice. I am a big fan of that. I love that. Now, the way we go through the expedition is I use my little mouse, my scroll wheel. To this day, I use a wired mouse, but the down arrow, totally fine. And now you notice there's text, and they actually have, this is a static image. This is not a VR image here. But if I keep going down, and I get another image. This one's kind of nice. It's an aerial view from the past. And we get a little map one, but this one actually has some VR, right? I look up at the sky, I look down at the ground, and this is actually street view. So they've incorporated some street view into this, that's a add-on. That's a nice bonus. If we keep going down, we're going to get to more conventional Google Expeditions. And here we are. So this is what used to be in the actual Expedition when this was Expeditions. And I can click around the screen. I can look up. I can look down. This one, again, has a street view component. And there is text here. That text means the student sees the text. They're not reliant on us to read it. We can read it, but it's there and it's not going away. Let me just keep going. And as we go, yeah, this one here, because this is not, no, that's street view as well. Again, you can see, you can look all around, and it's, it's Expeditions. It's web-based. One thing I will say is right over here, you get, the same sharing links. My only qualm with this is that this copy link here brings you to the first page of the Expedition, the very top. It's a top to bottom thing now. It almost looks like Adobe Spark, actually. If you've ever, when you look at websites in Adobe Spark. I wish that you could send students directly to one of the scenes, not just the top. So I think that's an improvement that if Google Arts and Culture makes, that would be very, very nice. As I keep going, I have a progress bar here, which is really nice, not something part of Expeditions in the app. So that is very, very useful. So yeah, that's basically what it is. Now let me show you some kind of high points and things that you'll want to keep in mind. So when I drop the slides in, I have links. These are direct links that teachers can use. These are, arts, natural history, expeditions around the world, geography, stuff like that. We talked about the options you have when you view Expeditions. And I love that, the text is there. You have a progress bar. Now, what does this all mean? It means that things are very different now, aren't they? This is not Google Expeditions as we remember it. Google Expeditions is now student-centered. Google Expeditions, the app, as much as I loved it, even in the iPad form, it was a teacher-centered activity. This is now a student-centered activity. You can do this asynchronously. You can do this with remote students. You can do all sorts of things. Students can go at their own pace. They're not tied to the guide anymore. That's a good thing. All right. My suggestion would be, just like with the old Google Expeditions, meet in small groups to guide students and point out specific things. You won't be leading them on a device, but you can put it in their Google Classroom and say, hey, open this. I want you to look here. I want you to go there. Okay. And then you're going to design accompanying activities such as question prompts or group tasks like you would with any other curricular material, right? If I gave you a video and would a teacher just say, oh, I'm just going to play the video and that's it? Not anymore, right? We have Google Forms, we have Edpuzzle, we have all sorts of things we would do with it. So it's the same with Expeditions. I will say, unfortunately, right now, Expeditions don't embed in websites. That would be another improvement that would be, imagine putting that on a Google site side by side with a video, a Google form. That would be really, really useful. Hopefully one day we'll have that. All right, so what is this and what is it not? So what it is pages on the World Wide Web, right? So just like any other World Wide Web page, you can do the same things. It is also content in the Google Arts and Culture mobile app. So if your students use that app, they can access this stuff as well. What is it not? There is no downloading tours. You're not going to download any tours. There's no guiding tours or connecting any devices. I'd argue that's a good thing because, again, teachers weren't using the old Expeditions. So this is something that it's a website. Teachers can use it. There is no student or teacher creation tool. So there is no tour creator. I forget which one it was because there's tour builder and tour creator. Both have gone away. I do miss that. You can really make a VR tour in Google Earth projects because whatever you do in Google Earth projects, kids can always go into Street View. So you can kind of do a similar thing in Earth projects. Of course, that can't be embedded on a website like Tour Creator Tours were. I'm going to look at, I know there are other companies and entities that are making kind of tour creator replacements. I will be looking at them. I haven't really made any decisions so far about, is there a really good one out there? Additionally, the no linking to the individual scenes, I think, is something that could be improved upon. If you link it to, the ability to link to an individual scene, when you think about sometimes in Google Expeditions, scenes take place in very different locations. So as a teacher, I might just want my students here or there, not in the whole expedition. I remember when I used to guide them, I would make editorial choices. All right, we're not going to this one. We're going to, and I want that direct linking. Hopefully that will come at some point. I will leave you with some further reading, and I don't want to, especially, I know we all have to get to Clay's roadmap session. I'm very excited for that. So let me leave you with a couple things here. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm going to put the bit.ly to our slides down in the chat. Hold on. So there's the bit.ly. I would highly encourage you to use this. It's a resource that's there for teachers. It's free. I think it's the kind of thing where I wish the organization on the website was a little bit better, but when you get to the actual expeditions, they are very useful, especially if your students use touchscreen Chromebooks. That's very nice. And who knows, maybe there'll be some changes and growth over time, and it can become even better. But thank you so much for joining me. I'll stick around if there's questions. And yeah.